The silent cry. The twin suns of Kepler 442b cast their morning light across the crystalline spires of New Zephyria, the capital city of the peaceful Zephyrian civilization. The city hummed with gentle energy as millions of tall, graceful beings went about their daily lives. Their translucent blue skin caught the sunlight, creating beautiful patterns of light that danced across the smooth walls of their organic architecture. High Counselor Vex stood on the observation deck of the central spire, her elongated fingers tracing patterns in the air as she communed with the planet's energy grid. The Zephyrians had long ago mastered the art of living in harmony with their world, drawing power from the planet's natural electromagnetic field rather than depleting its resources. Their society had known peace for over 3,000 years. That peace shattered in an instant. The sky above New Zephyria suddenly darkened as thousands of angular black shapes emerged from hyperspace. The vessels were unlike anything in Zephyrian records, geometric nightmares that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with mechanical precision, forming attack patterns that spoke of cold, calculating intelligence. Vex's mind reeled as emergency alerts flooded the city's communication network. Similar fleets had appeared over every major population center on the planet simultaneously. Her aide, a young Zephyrian named Kira, rushed to her side with terror in her large, opalescent eyes. "High Counselor." Kira's voice trembled as she spoke. "Through their telepathic link, the Defense Council reports that these vessels are not responding to any communication attempts. They're scanning our cities with some kind of energy beam." Before Vex could respond, the first attack began. Brilliant red beams lanced down from the black ships, but they didn't target buildings or infrastructure. Instead, they focused on the Zephyrians themselves. Where the beams touched, the peaceful aliens simply vanished, their energy signatures completely erased from existence. "They're harvesting us," Vex whispered in horror as she watched her people disappear by the thousands. "They're taking our life force." The Zephyrian defense fleet responded quickly, their sleek vessels rising from hidden bays throughout the planet. These ships were marvels of energy manipulation, powered by the same planetary grid that sustained their civilization. Brilliant blue energy lances reached out toward the invaders, weapons that could ionize entire asteroids or redirect solar flares. The beams struck the black ships and simply disappeared, absorbed into their hull plating without causing any visible damage. Worse, the alien vessels began to pulse with stolen Zephyrian energy, growing larger and more menacing with each passing moment. "Our weapons are feeding them," Defense Commander Zara reported through the emergency channel. "Every shot we fire makes them stronger." "What are these things?" From the Central Spire's war room, Vex watched in growing despair as more Zephyrian vessels fell to the invaders. The enemy ships didn't just destroy their targets, they consumed them, breaking down the elegant curves of Zephyrian technology and incorporating the materials into their own angular forms. It was like watching cancer spread across the sky. High Counselor, called Elder Thane, the oldest member of the council and keeper of their ancient knowledge. "I believe I know what we face. These are the harvesters, the mechanical plague our ancestors feared would one day find us." The war room fell silent except for the distant sounds of battle. Every Zephyrian knew the old legends, stories passed down from the earliest days of their civilization about a race of machines that consumed entire worlds, growing stronger with each conquest. Most had dismissed these as myths, designed to teach caution and unity. "The legends spoke of their weakness," Thane continued, his ancient voice carrying across the chamber. "They cannot adapt to physical force, only energy. But we abandoned kinetic weapons millennia ago when we learned to harness the planet's power." Through the massive windows, they could see another district of New Zephyria going dark as the harvesters completed their grim work. Millions of voices fell silent in the planetary consciousness, leaving gaps that felt like missing limbs. "How long do we have?" Vex asked, though she feared the answer. Kira consulted her instruments with shaking hands. "At current rates of harvesting, the harvesters will consume 60% of our population within 48 hours. Complete extinction within 1 week." The number hit the assembled Zephyrians like a physical blow. 3 billion lives, an entire civilization that had spent millennia perfecting harmony and peace, would be gone in 7 days. There must be something, Vex said, more to herself than to the others. Some weapon we've forgotten, some ally we can call. Elder Thane's eyes suddenly widened with a memory that seemed to surprise even him. The Forbidden Archives, he said slowly. There are ruins beneath the southern wastes, structures our ancestors sealed away 10,000 years ago. The records speak of star guardians who visited our world in the distant past. Fairy tales, scoffed Commander Zara through the communication link. We need weapons, not legends. These weren't legends, Thane insisted. I've studied the sealed records. The Star Guardians left something behind, a beacon that could call them back in our darkest hour. Our ancestors buried it because they feared becoming dependent on outside help. Vex stared at the elder, hope and desperation warring in her mind. Where exactly are these ruins? Within hours, a small team of archaeologists and engineers had made their way to the southern wastes, guided by coordinates from records so old they predated written Zephyrian history. The landscape here was barren and windswept, marked by strange, geometric formations that definitely weren't natural. Dr. Mira, the planet's leading xenoarchaeologist, ran her scanners over the largest formation. These aren't Zephyrian in origin, she reported. The construction techniques, the materials, everything suggests a completely different approach to technology. They found the entrance to the underground complex behind what looked like a natural rock formation. The moment they stepped inside, emergency lighting activated along the walls, revealing corridors that stretched deep into the planet's crust. The architecture was functional rather than beautiful, built for durability rather than harmony with nature. Whoever built this, Dr. Mira observed as they walked deeper into the complex. They expected to come back someday. The central chamber took their breath away. It was a perfect sphere carved from living rock, with a single device standing in the center. The beacon was deceptively simple, a pillar of unknown metal about twice the height of a Zephyrian, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Can you read any of it? Vex asked, approaching the device carefully. Dr. Mira studied the symbols through her scanner. Some of these markings are similar to the oldest Zephyrian pictographs, but there are elements I don't recognize. The central message seems to be for the desperate hour, and something about those who stand guard among the stars. As if responding to their presence, the beacon suddenly projected a holographic interface. The display showed star charts, communication frequencies, and what appeared to be activation instructions. At the center of it all was a handprint outline, clearly not Zephyrian, with only 5 digits instead of 6. The Star Guardians weren't Zephyrian, Vex realized. They were an entirely different species, one that might still exist somewhere in the galaxy. Above them, they could feel the planet shuddering as another city fell to the harvesters. Time was running out for everyone they had ever known and loved. The instructions seem clear enough, Dr. Mira said, studying the holographic display. Place a hand on the scanner, and the beacon will send an emergency signal across the galaxy. But we have no idea who will receive it or if anyone will come. Vex looked around at her companions, seeing her own desperation reflected in their faces. What choice do we have? Our weapons are useless, our fleet is scattered, and our people are dying. If there's even a chance that someone out there can help us, we have to try. She placed her 6-fingered hand against the 5-fingered outline on the beacon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ancient device came to life with a deep, resonant hum that seemed to penetrate every atom of her being. The beacon's surface lit up with flowing patterns of light, and suddenly, the chamber filled with a sound unlike anything they had ever heard, a voice speaking in an alien language. But somehow, the meaning was clear. Distress signal received. Guardian protocol activated. Help is coming. Far across the galaxy, in a star system that the Zephyrians had never heard of, the message reached its intended destination. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen was finishing her night shift at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station when every alarm in the facility began screaming at once. The station, built in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, was humanity's primary listening post for signals from deep space. In the 40 years since its construction, it had detected plenty of radio noise from distant pulsars and the occasional automated probe, but never anything like this. "Commander Chen," called Technician Rodriguez from the main console, "you need to see this immediately. We're receiving a signal on frequencies we didn't even know existed." Chen rushed to the console, her military training keeping her calm despite the chaos around her. What she saw on the displays defied everything she thought she knew about interstellar communication. "This signal is somehow bypassing every encryption protocol we have," Rodriguez explained, his voice filled with awe and fear. "It's interfacing directly with our computers as if it was designed specifically for our technology." The main screen displayed a star chart showing a system 47 light-years from Earth, along with what could only be described as a desperate plea for help. The message was simple but devastating. An entire civilization was being destroyed by mechanical invaders, and they were calling for the Star Guardians to save them. "Star Guardians?" Chen muttered, studying the data. "Who do they think we are?" But even as she spoke, she was already reaching for the secure communication line to Earth Command. Humanity had spent the last century preparing for the possibility of hostile alien contact, building the most powerful fleet in known space. They had always assumed they would be the ones under attack, never that they might be someone else's last hope. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on the secure channel within minutes, his weathered features grim with the weight of command. "Chen, tell me you verified this signal. Tell me we're not looking at an elaborate hoax or enemy deception." "Sir, the signal contains mathematical proofs and stellar coordinates that would be impossible to fake," Chen replied. "Someone out there is dying and they're calling for our help." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment, weighing decisions that could affect the future of humanity. How long would it take to reach their system? Chen consulted her calculations. "At maximum burn with our newest drives, 47 days. But sir, we're talking about committing our entire deep space fleet based on a signal from an unknown alien species." "An alien species that somehow knows about us," Harrison pointed out. "That alone makes this a matter of Earth security. Assemble. Task Force Phoenix. I want our best ships and crews ready to depart within 12 hours. As alarms continued to sound throughout the monitoring station, Chen felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. Humanity was about to make its first interstellar rescue mission, racing across the galaxy to save a people they had never met from an enemy they didn't understand. On Kepler 442b, as another million Zephyrians vanished into the Harvester's energy, Collector's High Counselor Vex looked up at the stars and whispered a prayer to whatever force had built the beacon. Somewhere out there, she hoped, the Star Guardians had heard their cry for help. The race against extinction had begun. When Guardians arrive, the hyperspace portal that opened at the edge of the Kepler 442 system was unlike anything the surviving Zephyrians had ever witnessed. Instead of the smooth, energy-based transitions their own ships used, this arrival was violent and spectacular. Space itself seemed to tear open with brilliant flashes of blue-white light, and from each tier emerged vessels that defied every principle of Zephyrian engineering. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, the flagship of Task Force Phoenix, watching the tactical display as her fleet completed its emergency transition. 47 days of maximum burn had brought them to this moment, and what they found exceeded their worst fears. "Tactical report," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the horror unfolding on the main screen. "Hostile fleet surrounds the third planet," reported Commander Williams, her tactical officer. "Approximately 800 vessels of unknown configuration. They're conducting what appears to be systematic orbital bombardment of population centers." The planet below was a patchwork of darkness and dying light. Where once crystalline cities had gleamed in the light of twin suns, now only scattered points of energy remained. The elegant curves of Zephyrian architecture were being systematically erased, replaced by the angular efficiency of mechanical consumption. "Life signs?" Chen asked, though she feared the answer. "Massive population loss," Williams replied grimly. "Initial estimates suggest the planetary population has dropped by over 70% in the past 7 weeks. The hostiles appear to be harvesting rather than simply destroying." Chen's jaw tightened. They had traveled 47 light-years and arrived to find a genocide in progress. Communications. Can you reach the planetary surface? Lieutenant Zhang worked her console frantically. Getting interference from the hostile fleet, but I'm detecting a powerful transmission beacon on the surface. It's using the same technology that sent us the original distress call. Put me through. The main screen flickered, and suddenly Chen found herself face-to-face with an alien being unlike anything in Earth's xenobiology databases. The creature was tall and graceful, with translucent blue skin that seemed to pulse with internal light. Its large, opalescent eyes held an intelligence that needed no translation, and the exhaustion and desperation in those eyes told a story that transcended species barriers. "This is High Counselor Vex of the Zephyrian people," the alien said. Her voice somehow perfectly understandable, despite the obvious differences in vocal structure. "Are you the Star Guardians our ancestors spoke of?" Chen straightened, feeling the weight of command and the expectations of an entire dying civilization. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call. We're, here to help." The relief that flooded across Vex's alien features was unmistakable. "Admiral Chen, we have less than 48 hours before complete extinction. The harvesters have consumed most of our fleet and nearly 3/4 of our population. Our weapons are useless against them. They actually feed on energy attacks." "Harvesters?" Chen turned to her science officer. "Dr. Martinez, are you getting any data on these hostiles?" Dr. Martinez was already deep in analysis, her instruments focused on the alien fleet surrounding the planet. "Admiral, these vessels are definitely artificial intelligence rather than crude ships. They appear to be self-replicating and self-repairing. Most interesting is their energy absorption capability. They're literally feeding on the planet's electromagnetic field." Chen studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possible strategies. Humanity had spent decades preparing for space warfare, but their enemies had always been theoretical. Now they faced an actual hostile alien force, and the survival of an entire species depended on their success. "Counselor Vex," Chen said, "what can you tell us about their weaknesses?" "Our ancestors left records," Vex replied, hope beginning to color her voice. "The harvesters cannot adapt to kinetic weapons, only energy-based attacks. But our civilization abandoned physical projectiles millennia ago when we learned to harness planetary energy." A slow smile spread across Admiral Chen's face. "Then you called exactly the right people. Humanity still believes in the power of kinetic energy. Commander Williams, tactical analysis. Can we get close enough to engage with our primary weapons?" Williams studied the fleet positions. "The harvesters are concentrated around major population centers. If we approach from the night side of the planet, we can achieve tactical surprise. But Admiral, we're outnumbered 8-1. "Numbers don't matter. If their weapons can't hurt us and ours can destroy them," Chen replied. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We're going in fast and hard. Remember, these machines are feeding off the planet's population as we speak. Every second we delay costs innocent lives." The human fleet moved with precision that amazed the watching. Zephyrians. Instead of the flowing organic patterns typical of energy-based vessels, the Earth ships moved in tight formations that spoke of endless drilling and absolute coordination. Their hulls were angular and functional, built for durability rather than elegance. The first harvester ship to detect the approaching humans simply ignored them. Its artificial intelligence, evolved over millions of years of consuming energy-based civilizations, had no tactical protocols for dealing with kinetic weapons. When the UES Thunderbolt opened fire with its main railgun, the result was devastating. The tungsten projectile, accelerated to 15% of light speed, punched through the harvester's energy-absorbing hull as if it were paper. The machine's attempt to consume the kinetic impact only resulted in its own destruction as the raw physical force tore through its internal systems. "Target destroyed," reported the Thunderbolt's captain over the fleet channel. These things really don't know how to handle good old-fashioned firepower. Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before returning to the tactical situation. "All ships, weapons free. Priority targets are the vessels over population centers. Let's show these machines what happens when they mess with our neighbors." Though, battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. The Harvesters, programmed to counter energy weapons and absorb technological advances, found themselves completely unprepared for humanity's deliberately primitive approach to warfare. Railguns, missile salvos, and even old-fashioned explosive charges tore through their formations with devastating efficiency. On the planet's surface, the surviving Zephyrians watched in amazement as the tide of battle turned within hours. The mechanical invaders that had seemed unstoppable were being systematically destroyed by weapons their ancestors might have recognized. "How are they doing this?" Dr. Mira asked, studying the battle from the underground command center where the remaining Zephyrian leadership had taken shelter. "They're using kinetic weapons," Vex explained, wonder evident in her voice. Physical projectiles launched at incredible speeds. The Harvesters evolved to counter energy-based civilizations, but these humans never abandoned the most basic form of warfare. Elder Thane, despite his advanced age, was practically vibrating with excitement. "Don't you see? This is why the beacon was designed to call them specifically. Our ancestors somehow knew that one day we would face a threat that only kinetic weapons could defeat." Above them, Admiral Chen was coordinating the systematic destruction of the Harvester fleet. "Dr. Martinez, are you detecting any attempt by the hostiles to adapt or retreat?" "Negative, Admiral," the science officer reported. "Their artificial intelligence seems completely locked into energy absorption protocols. They're not even attempting evasive maneuvers." The final phase of the battle came when the human fleet surrounded the largest Harvester vessel, a command ship the size of a small city that had been coordinating the planetary consumption. Chen ordered a full missile barrage from all vessels simultaneously. The massive explosion that followed was visible from the planet's surface, a brilliant new star that marked the end of the Harvester threat. As the light faded, the surviving machines simply shut down, their networked intelligence severed with the destruction of their central command. "All hostile vessels destroyed or disabled," Commander Williams reported. "The planet is secure." Chen felt a weight lift from her shoulders that she hadn't realized she was carrying. "Open a channel to Counselor Vex." The alien leader appeared on screen again, but this time her exhaustion was mixed with overwhelming gratitude. "Admiral Chen, your people have saved our civilization. How can we ever repay such a debt?" "No debt necessary," Chen replied. "That's what neighbors do for each other." "But I have to ask, how did your ancestors know to build a beacon specifically designed to call humanity?" Vex smiled, an expression that translated perfectly across species lines. "Dr. Mira, please show the Admiral what we discovered in the archive." The screen changed to show the underground chamber where they had found the beacon. But now, with the threat ended, they had time to explore the rest of the facility. The walls were covered with images and symbols that told an incredible story. "These aren't just any star guardians," Dr. Mira explained. "According to the records we've uncovered, human explorers visited our world over 10,000 years ago. They were part of an early colonization effort that apparently ended in disaster, but not before they left this beacon as a safeguard." Chen stared at the images, seeing clearly recognizable human figures working alongside ancient Zephyrians. "My God, we've been connected all along." "The records suggest your ancestors called themselves the Terran Exploration Corps," Vex added. "They helped our people survive a previous crisis, then left with promises to return if we ever needed help again." Dr. Martinez looked up from her analysis. "Admiral, this changes everything we thought we knew about early human space exploration. These dates predate our official first contact protocols by centuries." Chen nodded slowly, understanding the implications. "It seems humanity has been playing the role of galactic guardian longer than we ever realized." Over the following days, as the human fleet helped the Zephyrians begin rebuilding their civilization, a new understanding emerged. The beacon network wasn't unique to Kepler 442b. Similar devices had been left on dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy, all built by ancient human explorers who had somehow foreseen the need for a galactic protection system. "We're receiving activation signals from 17 other beacons," Lieutenant Zhang reported during a briefing 3 days after the battle. "Worlds throughout the galaxy are calling for help." Chen looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders once again. Humanity had been thrust into a role they never asked for but had apparently been preparing for across millennia. "Send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. "Tell them we're going to need a much larger fleet. It seems we have a galaxy to protect." High Counselor Vex joined her at the observation deck, both leaders looking out at the reconstruction efforts below. "Your people could have ignored our signal," she said. "You could have decided it was too dangerous or too costly." "That's not who we are," Chen replied simply. "Humanity learned long ago that the strongest civilizations are the ones that help others become strong too." As the first new Zephyrian structures began to rise from the ruins, incorporating both traditional energy-based design and new kinetic weapon defenses provided by their human allies, a new chapter in galactic history began. The Terran Protection Fleet was officially established, with bases throughout the galaxy staffed by humans who had volunteered to serve as guardians for civilizations they had never met. The Beacon Network, dormant for 10,000 years, came alive with new purpose. Humanity had found its role among the stars not as conquerors or colonizers, but as the species that answered when others called for help. And in the depths of space, other mechanical civilizations detected the destruction of the Harvester fleet and began making their own plans. The galaxy had guardians now, but it also had new threats that would test the growing alliance between humanity and its alien partners. The age of the Star Guardians had truly begun.